So hello, welcome to our panel, The Rise of the Collectives. Let me first introduce myself. So my name is Riad Djemili, and I'm kind of representing this space, Saftladen. Let's see. And Saftladen is a collective slash co-working space we founded in 2015 here in Berlin, in Kreuzberg. Actually not too far away from here. And it consists of 10 members. And we have some other collectives here, so I would ask them to briefly introduce themselves, like give us some basic data about you.
Hello. Is this on? Okay. My name is Runa, and I'm in charge of the Hamar Game Collective. We are a collective of 8-member studios, about 30 people, and we're based in the city of Hamar in Norway.
Okay, so hi, I'm Félix from the Klondike collective. Some of the other members are there. So we are a 10-member collectives created in 2012 from the north of France. And yeah, I'll basically explain later, I guess, how it is made.
Hello, I'm Lena, and I'm here from Copenhagen Game Collective. We are a bunch of people, artists, game designers, from Copenhagen, and we're about 14 people, and we were founded in 2008.
Hey, I'm Mal, and I'm from the Dundee Games Collective, unofficial name, because we're actually nameless. And we were founded over a year ago, and we have 6 members.
Great, so we already talked a bit before and compared kind of like our different ways of working, and we already recognized that even though we all call ourselves kind of collective, or more, probably, we're all very different, and I think that will be a large part of this panel to see like which common ideas we share and which ideas or where we work differently, what is important, and then we also go into the like public perception of like collectives and what we get out of it. So let's first start with one aspect that I'm curious to see if it's important to you or not, the co-working aspect. So in our collective here in Berlin, that's an important part for us, the co-working aspect. So is it the same for you, or do you work remotely?
So yeah, we have it's a co-working space, so we definitely have physical interaction and collaboration within our space. But I think in terms of the definition for us, I'd like us to be open to the possibility of thinking outside the box and being open to people being members, but not necessarily in the same physical space. But where we're at right now, it is a co-working space, and that's proved to be quite useful in terms of the early days. We're very early in terms of starting, and so we're very keen to have it as a slow, organic process, and having the face-to-face thing is really good. Yeah, it's really helpful in our case.
Yeah, we also share like a physical office space, but we have individual companies that they all do their thing. But there's some interaction, of course, but there are few like collaborative projects between companies. But people interact on a daily basis because we all share the same space.
Well, for us, 6 of us are still at school, and we're in the same class, so we know each other well. And the others live really close to us. So basically we don't have a co-working space, but we still have opportunities to work together.
We also don't have a co-working space, but actually hearing where you're going from, I think we had it for a couple of years now that we have this idea of having like a co-working space for Copenhagen Game Collective, maybe other members as well, and maybe having a cafe and so on. So I think maybe one day we will have it, but not now.
So apart from having a co-working space or not, so even if you're in a co-working space, like sharing the same space doesn't mean that you're sharing the same vision, right? Or the same kind of in games, like the same genre or the same artistic goals. So how is it for you? Are you bound by the same artistic ideas, or is like every member like completely working independently?
So in Scotland, we're all independent artists or freelancers, and we have, even though it's a very small membership, it's quite broad in a sense that primarily it's people involved in games, but we also have at least one member who's a digital arts curator, so we're quite broad in that sense. And in terms of vision and, I guess, collective output, on one level, I think our goal is to have a shared creative output in terms of experimental, left field kind of interactions in spaces and art. But that doesn't stop someone producing something that's more indie or AAA or whatever. I think we're very open to the idea that anyone can do what they like. However, it doesn't mean it has to come under the same umbrella, you know? It's a support umbrella, and within that umbrella there are an individual artist or maybe a small company or a team. So where we're at, we're open to the idea of being quite open. But I definitely think that a collective with a strong vision creatively or aesthetically could support its members really well, actually, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's kind of the same with us. Like the individual companies, they all do their thing, and we don't deny anyone membership in the collective. But most of them are doing like entertainment games and indie games. But that's not to say that we won't allow anyone to work on other things like serious games or some more creative artsy stuff. They can, yeah. But as collective, I don't know. Hopefully, like we're the same kind of people, so we're all pulling in the same direction. But at least so far, but there's not that many of us yet. So it'd be interesting to see if we're like growing and getting different companies, different people in.
Well, kind of same for us. We share similarities, and the thing that makes we don't have a manifesto. We don't have like a direction that we follow with the collective, but. I guess as we work a lot together and as we work in groups together, we usually make things that are close to each other's. So, yeah, we do things similar, but it's normal for what we are, I guess.
The Copenhagen Game Collective was formed with a vision but it's like a broad vision to experiment with games as a medium, to try out different things and to maybe push the borders of what games are and what games are not. And but it's so broad that there can be so many things put into it, but that's our main goal or our main vision.
So sounds like, yeah, like the members are all working on their own stuff, of course, but then apart from like this doing full time, but are there like occasions, like do you have like in-house game jams or like meetups or discussions or anything where you like foster this like everybody coming together and having like a shared experience also?
Yeah, definitely. So we're ever since starting the collective, the members of the collective actually collaborated on projects together, which has been very good for us. It's a natural fit. You know, I have an idea and I'd like to work with you, and you know, there's lots of dialogue and conversation within our space. Quite a few of us like to operate that way. You know, we're very open about having frank design discussions, etc. But also, what we do in terms of social events, I'd say, is that we've had a few game events like Come Play Games, board games, or digital games, you know, whatever, and we've kind of opened that out to a wider circle of friends and contacts, just to kind of attract more people and kind of, yeah, we're very keen to have it as a space for dialogue, you know, for creative dialogue.
We do some events, like Fridays are usually Friday fun, where we gather and play games and just relax together. We also do something called Testbonanza, where we invite everyone, not just like games people, but also students or artists, to come and showcase whatever they're working on and get feedback on it. And that's turned out to be a huge success because it's a very low threshold for like doing that, and it's not at all scary. So that's good to get more people involved. But other than that, we don't do that many events together. Well, we arrange like global game jam and smaller game jams in the office sometimes, but maybe not as often as I'd like.
We did some game jams earlier, but we don't have any specific event or anything. I guess we took part of some events like Screen Shake or Amaze as a collective, and then it's we usually consider it a label as you. I don't know, if one game take part to an event, then it's a Klondike game, and then it helps us being known, and yeah.
We do organize a lot of events and some parties for everybody. And but then for me personally, I joined only, I think, a year and a half ago, and I heard that we were much more before together and like doing stuff. And now, as everybody, of course, we all need to make money, and we are a collective of artists to do experimentation. So it's not doing work for money or work for, you know, like developing a game that you can sell afterwards. So then it becomes a bit hard to meet up and to do just cool, fun stuff together, because we're just so busy people trying to find our way in the world.
So yeah, you already touched a little bit on this. Like I was thinking more about like internally if you have events, but you already touched on the fact that you also have public events. So how important is this aspect for you personally? Do you also like, if you have a space, do you also invite other people to work there, like part-time, or do you have an open desk or something like that?
So we're lucky that our office space is not just our collective. There's actually a wider range of companies, and from creative companies to a makerspace, so it's quite broad. And just to go back to our point about, you know, it's called Dundee Games Collective, but it's not, we don't have an official name because we don't want it to be a game collective. We want it to be a collective that's open to a lot more people. We're very keen to have, because I mean, I think where we're based, there's a very good community of game developers working on, you know, free-to-play mobile games, even console projects. And I've noticed that, you know, everyone's in a silo, and we're very keen to kind of get out of that mentality of just game people doing games. It's just too close-minded. So we're lucky in our office space that we have conversations dialogue with a wider network. And yeah, I'm keen to push that. You know, I want people who do theatre, who do drama, who are writers, who are musicians, to be part of this collective, part of this movement. And having it so loose means that, you know, we're all able to be sustainable, you know, because that's really important, to be sustainable and to create cool shit, basically.
Yeah, our physical space is very tiny, but we're moving this summer, so it's going to be bigger, and so then we can like invite everyone to come sit and work with us. I'm looking forward to that. But we do events in our office, like the Testbonanza I told you about. But again, what you said about like getting people from different like disciplines, I would love to see like musicians and artists, and yeah, because I think we're kind of getting stuck in our bubble a bit. It would be healthy to get some outside influences more, but not sure how to do that yet.
For us, the collective allows us more to widen the collective, the network. Sorry, there's no official collaboration between Klondike and other people. It's just basically people that are working with Klondike members, and then it just allows us to work together later. So yeah, there's nothing official, I guess.
As we don't have a physical space, we meet with other people during our events. And what I found interesting, which Runa said, is this, and also is this broadening up our network, because we're also trying to work on that. How do we approach people from theater? How do we approach people from arts and design and whatever? And we do find it very challenging, and we didn't find an answer to that yet. So, but yeah, it's always this thing of trying to be open, but then you're still secluding other people on a somehow weird mental level. And I can see it, but I don't know how to break it.
Right. So to touch on your point, so is the terminology of like being a collective even important for you, since you also don't have a name? Like, at what point would you differentiate between just a co-working space and then going beyond that and giving yourself kind of like a brand, basically? So
I guess things like branding is super important, and we're kind of having that kind of aesthetic identity. It's the kind of thing we're fully aware of. But I guess to get to that stage, you need to have a unity of vision within, and so far, we've got 6 members, so we're quite a small group of people. And I think the idea is to kind of grow to maybe, say, 10 or so people, and over this time, slowly develop that unity of vision so that we're able to kind of have a very strong identity, link that to our marketing, branding, etc. and from then grow further, sort of thing. So I'm not sure if that answers your question.
Yeah, I think it does. It shows kind of like where your goal is. So would be also interested in the other participants' opinion about like branding. Is it like a conscious effort for you, like having a logo and a name that you're putting out there, maybe even putting it in front of your games? Or?
We're working on that. When we're 3 years old this summer, we stole our name from the Copenhagen Game Collective because we didn't know what to call ourselves. So just based on the city we were in. But there were quite a lot of people from the beginning. I think that there's fewer of you, so it's easier to agree on one thing. We're still working out like branding and actually design and logos and stuff like that. The identity of the collective is just starting to take form, and it's taken a long time. So it's still a work in progress. But hopefully, eventually, we want it to be like, put logos on the game, and it's supposed to be like this is a quality game. It's made in the collective.
I think for Klondike, branding is like kind of the heart of the concept, because we're not a very structured collective, as you may have heard, and basically we have a logo and we have a name, and people get to know it, and there's nothing linking the games together except this. So yeah, it's more of a brand, maybe.
I cannot talk how it was in the beginning because I wasn't there, but now it's more like, now Copenhagen Game Collective is known pretty well, so it's more like I jumped on the train that is already running. Mm-hmm. And we do put logos everywhere and so on. But actually, I just thought about it, that sometimes it is almost like a dictator. So it's not that we are trying to brand ourselves, but the brand is defining us. Because it happened to us, I'm also establishing my own company, and I was running workshops in some place, and they were like, oh no, but we want it to be Copenhagen Game Collective and not your new company, because nobody knows your new company. So it's this interesting thing when suddenly you become known by that name, you are like, you cannot escape it anymore.
Yeah, it is indeed very strong brand, I think, the Copenhagen Game Collective. I want to extend on a point that you made, that you said that it gets harder the more members you are making decisions and so on. So compared to your current size, what are your plans? Do you want to grow, or are you already like or even shrink down maybe? Or are you at an ideal size right now, do you think?
We hope to grow like a bit. The more the merrier, usually. Because it benefits the companies greatly, like to have other developers nearby, and so many of them. But yeah, hopefully. But it still needs to be like manageable, because I'm the only employee of Hamar Game Collective, and so if I had like 500 people, I wouldn't know what to do with that.
As I mentioned earlier, we've had kind of a goal of maybe 10 people as a point where we start to move into the branding, etc. Right, kind of more external activities, official activities. But I guess beyond that, I guess maybe stop at 15 or maybe 20 people maximum. I'd like to open it up to part-time membership as well, maybe even student membership. But I wouldn't want to see it becoming too big. I think it should be the kind of thing where, you come and you're part of the collective, then maybe you go get a job, or maybe you stay. It's very loose and fluid kind of movement. I think the more you scale up, the more challenges you have. It's very difficult to maintain that unity of vision that I was talking about earlier when you're much bigger. But having said that, when I visited Bento Miso in Toronto, their collective come working space, that really inspired me. And I'm pretty sure they're like over 30 members. I mean, I could be maybe even 40 or 50. So that was really impressive. They were able to kind of maintain that. But I think they've got a few full-time staff, we're like making games and doing this on the side. So like, and juggling 100 different things. So, and one thing with us is that, I'm very keen to do a 9 to 5. I want to have a family life. I want to get back, and I want to have weekends. And it doesn't always happen, right? But I'm really aspiring for that. And by building something like a collective, we can really kind of implant these ideas, so that hopefully this kind of stuff spreads to other people, So I've got friends from AAA, and they're like they can't think outside that bubble. They're burnt out to such an extent that that's all they can do, you know? They can't function beyond that, and I don't want to be that at all, so it's quite a sad state of affairs, so, yeah.
We should? Okay.
No, it's if you don't want to, you don't have to. So maybe to go into even further detail about this size. So our collective here in Berlin, we want to grow to, we are, like I said, 10 people now. We want to grow to like 25, 30. So also that from the office space, it's very restricted. There's literally no more room to have people sitting there. And then a bigger space allows also more flexibility, right? But then already with 10 people, we're trying to vote on everything or like make decisions together. And it's already took us forever to come up with a logo, for example. So how do you handle it? Has every member like the same voting rights, or is there like a dictator or?
We, like I said, I'm the only employee, and then the member studios each have a vote once a year in like a general assembly on the big things. But we also have a board, a working board, with representatives from every company. So they are my bosses, and they like, dictate where we're going with everything, and then I do what we've decided. So it's still like there's 7 people on that board, so it's still a lot. And so there's bound to be a lot of discussion. But we usually agree on things. Yeah.
Yeah. With us, it's that we have a board as well where we vote on on big important things each year. But then when it comes to smaller things, maybe small events where we decide on stuff, it's basically who shows up. So yeah, and as 14 people is already quite a lot, and especially what I said, we are all doing it voluntarily, and we're all super busy. So then it's sometimes it's a bit easier when it's less people. Sometimes when almost everybody shows up, it gets harder because of course everybody has opinions, everybody has an idea. So yeah, so that's hard to manage sometimes. And the meeting that was supposed to be 1 hour is suddenly 4 hours, and everybody almost hates each other.
I know that feeling. But so you don't have people, so just to extend on that, you don't have people that are working full-time just on the management part of the...
No, we don't. We're a very fluid, organic group of people. That, yeah, and we don't have like, or there are some people who took some organizational roles or like accounting and so on, but that was just voluntarily, just the chosen roles. And yeah.
For us, we're just a bunch of friends, basically. So at the beginning of the collective, when we were only 8, we had some kind of identity crisis because we didn't know. We had like questions about fundings or finding money for projects. And this was some heavy decisions. And we decided not to think too much about it because like even 8 was too much for a lot of questions. So as we turned with 10 people last year, we realized that it was not important to rely too much on these questions, and we are now just, as what was said just before, if one wants to make something with the collective name, then he'll make it, and we don't ask questions. Okay.
Don't ask questions. Okay.
Yeah, we don't think too much of these problems.
Right. So now that we've gotten into a bit of the more management topic, I'm wondering, are you collaborating in any way with your government? Are you getting like support from your state, like with the space maybe, or financing in any way?
So in terms of the actual space, I'm collaborating with a friend of mine in the city who runs a collective called Félix Collective, and she's actually here somewhere. And she managed to acquire this giant space somehow. So in a sense, she's a collaborator, but she's also a member of the collective. But in terms of government support, official support, when we started, I made a point of, I visited the local university, the local government in terms of industry and creativity. I spoke to everyone. I said, hey guys, we're doing this collective thing. We don't need your support. Just we do not need you guys at all at this stage. Here's our plan. Maybe in 2-3 years, we're going to have 20, 30 people, blah, blah. But kind of please stay away because we want to make our own mistakes and learn and grow this thing organically. And maybe there's going to be a point where we might need to engage with you guys on that level. And what's been odd, and that's why this whole not naming thing has happened, because we're trying to just do this ourselves. But what's happened is that everyone's kind of interested, and you get people dropping the name of Dundee Games Collective and like government discussions and stuff. So it's kind of cool, but kind of weird too that it's happening. But yeah, that's going forward. I'm sure that will be part of what we do. I spoke to the guys in Australia who run the arcade, and they've had some amazing support from their governments. But they seem to have a very good understanding of games and stuff. So in Scotland, where I'm based, people still are struggling to understand what we do as artists or game developers. So, yeah.
We are 100% government funded for now. They pay my salary, which is very, very good, and they also give us some money for events and stuff like that. So we're super lucky to have government support. But what you said, like we do some educational work because a lot of the time they don't know what we're doing. And we're trying to teach them about games, basically. So it's been a bit of a struggle, but it's working out now. But long term, we want to be like self-sufficient, but we're still figuring out how we can do that, because that will involve the member studios like paying the collective if we are to keep it going. So yeah, we're working on figuring that out.
We have the exact opposites. We have zero fundings. Even though I don't know anything about foundings in France. Even I've known a lot of people that are founded in France, and I know it's not easy, but it's really possible. And money is precious, so as I just said before, we try to avoid problems. It's a question we don't ask too much. If one member of a collective wants money from a public funding, then I guess it's private matter. Sorry, Paul.
I guess Copenhagen Game Collective is more on this side than that side. Also funding-wise, we are funding some of our projects or events, but it's through Copenhagen Game Collective or with the name. So we do get support for some stuff, and so yeah, but we don't get support for like existing. And I think when it comes to collectives and funding, what is interesting also for others maybe to form the collectives is that when you build your brand, at some point it becomes this brand of equality, and then it's much easier to get the funding, because then you just like place that stamp there, and the government knows your work already, and then it's easier. So that's, I think, an interesting thing when somebody's thinking of forming one.
All right. So my collective is also not funded by the government, but if there's a politician here right now, let's maybe discuss afterwards. What I found very, very helpful for us is having this name at all and having this vision, I think we could just have a co-working space, and there are a lot of co-working spaces where there are even a lot of some game developers, but they don't see themselves as like a collective or as a brand. And I think us making this extra step also helped us with government and having connections, and also with the press, to the point that we are now getting approached when like, for example, during the Games Week, they write us and, I'm seeing you are kind of like this exciting thing going on. So how is it for you, like in terms of public perception, like people approaching you because you are part of a collective now?
We do get a lot of requests to do stuff, but usually it's not within what we do. We have given like some talks about very purely game related. And this one time, it was last summer, a guy came into our office and wondered if he could drop his kids off there so that they could sit here and play with us. And so that kind of describes like the public opinion, or like what they think that we do. So we're working very hard to kind of show everyone that no, that's not what we do. We make games.
Yeah, so we've already had some attention, from government and local institutions. But our working space is like, it's open to like other people. So quite often people come in and go, and here's the games collected that we've been talking about. And it's like, oh, hi. awkward meetings and stuff. So we've had quite a lot of spotlight, considering we're not official, we don't have websites, which is quite surprising. So I think there's more of that to come. Yeah.
Well, same for us. I guess we get, I don't know if we have a lot of attention, but we get more and more attention. And we have people asking for projects, either with members of the collective or with the whole collective. But for now, we haven't done anything specific, but it might be planned in the future.
Us as well, we do get, I guess, more spotlight as a collective than if it was an individual. We also start to get commercial work, like people asking us to make events, workshops, projects for them, which is quite interesting. And I'm wondering what is so magical about collectives. It's suddenly when you are not one person, but when you're like 3 people and you call yourself a collective, then there is some kind of aura around you. But I think it's also maybe easier long term to maintain it, because when you're one person, it's hard to like being out there and do the projects and promote yourself. But once you're a collective of like 5-10 people, you have to do like maybe one project half a year, and other people will do it too, and then you can grow and then you can appear as if you are more than just a sum of individuals.
Right, yeah, I agree. Probably when you are one person, you're just one person, but 2 persons can already be a movement kind of, and like a more interesting news story than just a single developer. So yeah, we already talked like in terms of like public perception and press, but like more specifically, do you think it also helps you just to sell or market your games? And do you put like parts of the collective in your games, like in terms of a logo or something and brand building?
That's the plan. That is the plan. That's the idea. Because I definitely like to see it as, I mean, looking at you guys externally, like I identify with your aesthetic. You know, it's like, to me, it's a mark of quality. Like, I know it's like, those guys do awesome work. It speaks volume. So, yeah, that's what, you know, we're going to hopefully be. We're going to have a strong aesthetic, and hopefully that will kind of spread the love, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, same. It's not, because it's taken us a bit of time to come up with what it is that we actually want to be perceived as. And again, it's still a work in progress, but eventually, yeah, we want to do that. And it's also to be said that the individual companies are very good at speaking fondly of the collective. Like, yes, I'm a company, but I'm also a member of this super cool, amazing collective, where there are other interesting companies that you should also talk to, like if you're press or whatever. So it has its benefits.
I think that's the reason of our collective, at least, or I think a lot of collectives. The idea of a collective is that if you do something on your own, then you have only your own to sell the thing. And if you have a collective, then you will rely on everyone. If one of your friends is making a great game that is really successful, then it will work with you too. And yeah, as what was said, a lot of people know Klondike for their games, of their aesthetic, and just a small part of every member, of what does every member. But then every time you make something, then they will look at the collective and they'll look at the others, and it works.
We had a lot of discussions about this lately, because at the heart of our collective, it is there is the word experimentation, and not like maybe not really games that are commercial or that are like for sale, but more and more we are trying to form maybe a vision or an idea to what type of games can we put the logo on, because. And then in order to support each other and in order to help ourselves to grow bigger as a collective, but also as individual members. But there is a question then, like as we have quite a strong vision, even though it's kind of vague, it's still, we are aware that we cannot devalue the value of the brand. So, because we're known as those crazy people who are doing weird stuff, we cannot make an ordinary game and put a Copenhagen Game Collective logo on it, because it would devalue it, I think.
Would you then kind of hide the identity that the Game Collective was behind the game if it doesn't fit kind of like your your thing, or would you go that far even?
Oh, can you ask once again? Sorry.
Like, would you go as far as if you do like a game like for hire, for example, but that doesn't fit your style, that you wouldn't even like brand it as a Copenhagen Game Collective game and just it's not part of like the DNA basically?
The thing is that the work for hire we do in our own companies. So that's more. So then it's like we're trying to separate those two things. So maybe that answers your question, because then it's like, and yeah, so then it's maybe more like this is the person's work in that company, and that person is still part of Copenhagen Game Collective, but it's more separated than that. Yeah.
Right. So Felix, you mentioned that that journalists or people they take a look at other games of the Games Collective. If there's one standing out, everybody kind of like. Get something from it, even the other members. But I'm also wondering, not just in terms of like inside the collective, but outside the collective in your region, like for example Copenhagen and so on, if there's like a halo effect of the collective, of journalists, not just looking at the collective, but like being interested in the overall scene, or is it maybe even the contrary, that kind of the collective becomes so strong? I think you mentioned that also in our pre-talk, that it kind of shows a shadow, throws a shadow on the people that are not actually in the collective, but in that area.
Well, that's more of a question. But basically, we have a lot of people that are making games in the region because there's first fundings for companies that wants to make games, and then we have a video game school that is. We have some people from the school like there, hi, and yeah, we. I don't know if we were the first one making this kind of games, but we are getting known for that, and there's some kind of effect, I guess, on some of the people. I don't know. But what I wanted to say is that the collective is not known for specific games, it's known for the people. I think people that know Klondike can give a name of one or two of the games we made, but they also know the people that made them, and we met at events, and this is one of the most important things with this collective, is that it is about the people and not the games that we make. And then it won't overshadows the other people, I think. I don't really know.
I think it's important to try and keep the balance. I don't want the collective to kind of overshadow the individual companies, because they have their own identities as well, and it's important to keep that and not just like go and decide what they're gonna look like outside. But for now, I think we have that mostly. The companies are known for being the companies, but also as members of the collective. So I think it's a tricky balance to uphold, but I hope that we can manage to continue doing that.
I think that the collective is more of a kind of, it's more of a support network or structure. It's a layer of support, and I guess the thoughts I've had is I'd hate for the collective to be an exclusive club of just people who live in our city, in our little area, and I'm kind of keen for it to be broad enough to kind of allow other people from Scotland, our nation, to be able to participate, especially people who would benefit, kind of, individual freelancers who are doing stuff in their bedroom and who, are doing cool stuff. So, yeah, I'd like it, and those people, any members, if they have their own brand and identity, I think I'd hate to think that the collective will somehow overshadow that. I think it will just help boost it, if anything, It should be an amplifier of other ideas and identities and brands, etc.
I think it's interesting what you're saying with like helping other people, and it seems like there is two different types of collectives, because our collective is like a bunch of people who like to do the same stuff, so it's a bit different. Our vision is like, and it's nothing against other people, but it's not to help other people to be successful. It's about an art collective, like a circle that is having the same interests and same ideas and visions. And I think with the overshadowing others, it was, to be honest, it's we were discussing it so much, because how to say, it seems to me that somehow maybe Copenhagen Game Collective became this monopole, or it seems somehow sometimes, maybe it's the name, Copenhagen, it's a bit tricky, but we would really love to other people to form the collectives and start their own initiatives, because we even though we would love to invite everybody, it's not sustainable for how we function. So no staff, no real funding to encompass everybody, because I think then we would just disperse in weird stuff. So, and we would really love to see and maybe somehow even help people to form their own things, because as we were saying already, like there is some kind of aura again around like being a collective, and it takes time to build a brand, and of course it is easier to join already existing brand, but there is also, I would really love to see more diversity in Copenhagen, and to like then more people can get the spotlight. And we are totally open for giving advice, talking to everybody, helping out with how to start or how to establish it.
Right. Yeah, I think the name Copenhagen Game Collective is very strong because it's so definitive. It's like, well, it's the Copenhagen Game Collective. It's very descriptive. So talking about starting new collectives and so on, do you have tips for people that maybe like in the audience and not part of a collective that are wondering like how they would actually start one, or what would be the first step to do?
So just to jump in, I have no idea what I'm doing. I thought it was a cool idea, and we just did it. And we're making it up as we go along.
Yeah, sounds like indie game development actually.
Yeah, right. Like honestly, that is the hard truth of it. Like no idea what we're doing. We're giving it our best shot, and yeah, it's about people. It's about social stuff. It's about kind of having unity between people and getting on with people and just building something together that allows it to be flexible and not rigid and open. Yeah. Just do it.
Yeah, just do it. I think for us as well, it happened very organically. Like the founding studios, they all worked together and then just decided to kind of formalize it, give it a name, and find an office space to work together. Because that was the main part, like the working together bit, and how that benefited everyone. So, and from there, it's just grown, and as I said, it's still a work in progress, so we're just figuring it out, like making it up as we go along. And that, I don't know how you guys started, but that seems to be, yeah.
Well, I think we've all been given this question a lot. So basically, people tend to get overwhelmed, I think, when they make their collective. They want to structure everything at the beginning, which is really a bad idea. We didn't really know what we were making. I joined after the exact foundation of the collective, so I don't really know how it was at the exact beginning. But Klondike is just, the subtitle should be a bunch of friends. It's nothing really structured. And if you want to make a collective, then gather friends and try to find out what you can do, and don't stress too much, and don't think too much about the money.
Yeah, I would second that. It's also Copenhagen Game Collective was formed that way. It was a bunch of friends from IT University from Copenhagen who decided that they want to do weird stuff, and so they slowly grew. And I think it's about like saying, okay, I want to do it. Find a second person. I think 2 people can be a collective already. You can have imaginary friends maybe, and or have like different personas or something. And I think maybe it's about perseverance, like not giving up in the beginning, because it is hard. It's like with everything. It's I don't know. I'm trying to form my own company now, and it's just so overwhelming. But like just allowing yourself to take small steps, tiny steps, and not thinking of like, oh no, nobody knows about me. Oh no, I'm not a bunch of people, of 10 people. Because if you're gonna do something right, I think people will start finding you and will start contacting you.
So before we head into the Q&A section, I would like to ask you, since we've been talking a bit about abstract stuff too, could you give us a real concrete example that exemplifies like something that only happened because you're part of your collective, something that you didn't expect maybe, and that turned out to be really fun or cool?
So our game Killbox, which is actually right here on show, is a good example of a good output from our collective. So it's a collaboration with an American artist, and we're very keen to push collaboration with our collective. So it was perfect. You know, we had someone who was in the city doing a residency at the university, got in touch with us, you know, joined us in our co-working space for a month. We developed ideas together, and it was perfect. And now we have something. You know, we got funding for it from an arts organization. So it's almost like what we planned from the very start actually took place. Collaboration, arts funding, and so we're able to be sustainable, which is great. So that's an example that's real, and you can play it. So yeah.
Thanks. Yeah, we made a game jam called Splash. Are there any of you who were there? Yeah. And I don't think it was in collaboration with Framverk, that's another like network in Norway as well. And I don't think we would have made that happen if we didn't have like the attitude and the collective at the bottom of it. So that's super cool that we made it happen.
So am I supposed to talk about Screen Shake? Okay, so basically we were invited to showcase some games at Screen Shake. I don't know where it started, but we didn't know what to do at the exact beginning. And thanks to Armel that worked a lot on interacting a lot with Screen Shake, we finally made something. And we had, it's sad I don't have any photo, but we were at the beginning just imagining having 3 games being showcased, and we ended up having a gigantic room in the dark with, how was it? There was like paper falling down from the sky, and 3 games being put it, and Gaspron from Titouan being set in the middle. And it was like a really weird ambience and really different from what we did before. Klondike Collective was known for making flashy games with flashy colors, and then we made this thing, which was really different. So I think it was one of the key points of the identity of the collective.
Apart from being able to do cool projects and cool events, what was already said here, and getting funding for it or getting the support from around you, for me it was very important to have the support personally. So to have the network that I knew that if I have a question, it will be answered. If I have technical difficulties, they will help me. But also only just this thing of having somebody behind you just drives me forward to do my weird stuff. And if I can frame it in the framework of Copenhagen Game Collective, it just feels somehow that I'm not alone, which is a very nice feeling.
Yes, I agree. So, are there questions from the audience? Some things. Okay. Let's see. Do we have a mic? Yeah, just waiting for the microphone, or should I just scream?
We only have the big cable, so.
Okay, cool. So let's start right here in the first row.
Okay. So we've also been tumbling with the idea of starting a game collective in Copenhagen Game Collective 2.
Uh-oh.
No.
2.0.
One of the things we've been discussing a lot is like what happens when someone comes up to you and they're like, "Hey, can I be part of your collective?" Like whether it's a company or an individual person. Like, how do you say just yes, or do you like what kind of criteria do you have to use? Like what do you do?
I love this question. I was trying to avoid it the whole time. But yeah, thank you for asking, because it is important. And oh my God, it's so hard. It's so fucking hard because once you are not a collective of like, okay, we're a co-working space and we want to support others, you know, like this really, which is amazing as well. But if you want to be an artist collective, with us, we are really trying to, like, unofficial rule is like you should do the same stuff as we do, but it's also, but like to be completely honest, it's also about people. Once you have like a collective of people who are supposed to work together, sometimes that person doesn't fit just personally in, because for different reasons. And I don't have a question, I don't have an answer how to say that to that person, because it's so hard. But I think I think everybody understands that, because it's just, some people, you know, like if I'm interested in making physical games and there is a person who is very keen on, I don't know, if I just make completely like AAA games, that person just somehow, it wouldn't, we know that it's not gonna work. But how to say yes or no, we don't have an answer. We're really struggling with it, because we don't want to hurt anybody, but we also want to keep our integrity. So we are very clunky about it.
We're actually required by Norwegian law to take in anyone who wants to be a member. But it also requires, obviously, that you're, for now, actually, that you're based in Hamar, and that you work with games in some form or another. Like it could be like you teach games, or you make games, or you make something related to games. But we still haven't, it's a super difficult question. We still haven't had anyone come and wanting to join us and felt that it wasn't the right fit. Like everyone who's come to the collective and became a member of the collective, it's been a good fit. So I guess we've been lucky this far. So I don't know.
So I guess with us, the members themselves, they talk about their collective with their contact, with their network of friends. But at this stage, we're totally a network of friends, really. You know, how small we are, not having a website, all that kind of stuff. So it's a very much a natural network. Would like to extend it beyond that. But I can totally foresee the challenges that you guys might have, because I think there needs to be some harmony of output and even process. I think that's really important to maintain the sustainability going forward for everyone. But I find this question very challenging, because I'm very keen for it to be inclusive. So it's a very tricky situation. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a tough question for us too. I've never been personally confronted to it, but I think one of the defining factors of Klondike, at least, is how often we see each other, and even I think it's going to change right soon. But because we're all moving away after we finish school, basically. But yeah, we have to find the sweetest way to say no for Klondike, at least. I think, I don't know, it will change maybe. But yeah, we are a bunch of friends, and I think what our usually answer to that would be make your collective with your friends, even if it's horrible to say this way. But yeah, you have good friends that you can work with, and you know them, so it's the best people you can work with on this collective.
Right. So a hard-hitting question: do you think the collective will dissolve when people move away, or is that actually not that important where you guys are seated?
That's a horrible question. They're all there. But I have to respond for them. I don't know. We'll see. I think we'll stick together as much as we can, because we really like to make games together, and it works. So we'll see.
Oh, yeah, cool. So yeah, in the third row, maybe.
What's for you personal the biggest motivation to be part of or to make a game collective? And I can answer it for myself, because I think it's identity. On the one hand, you have the identity, the creative identity of a collective or cooperative, and you have your own identity still with your own company. And I think the mixture of both is very nice to have. And so really give it a name. For example, just for an analogy, you know, you're citizen, you have your own name. For example, I'm Steffen, but I'm also a citizen, a of Germany, you know. So, and I have this identity too. So it's a mixture, and it's very nice to give it a name. So what's your opinion on that? So what's the biggest pro for the collective?
I think that's a very good question. I think with before this, I had my own studio, and I think with some really awesome, talented people. And I think part of the challenge of that was identity and actually ego. And I think a collective helps you to be detached on some level and to create your own identity. So you have space between the support structure, your own identity, and you're able to do more project-based work, which I think, again, really helps to give you a slight amount of detachment from the work, so you don't get obsessed with a brand and identity. It's about the work. It's not about some label. So that's why I always want this collective to be this thing that's an umbrella of support and nothing else. That's all it is. So I think, yeah, on that note, I think the identity thing is very, very important. Being part of a collective, you are your individual and you're part of something. I think that balance works really well because it means I get to make cool stuff and be sustainable and grow and develop rather than pick something and band together and it's very tight and controlling.
Yeah, for me it's a bit different because I don't have a studio. The collective is my full-time job. So for me, it's the people there, and I'm very excited about all the cool stuff that's happening, and I'm very happy for them. And if I can help in any way to make amazing stuff happen, then that's what does it for me.
I forgot what I was about to say. I think the main thing of the collective is not. As I'll say the same tips I said before. Don't worry too much about the collective itself, because what's important is not the collective; it's what you make with the collective. And the defining factor of this collective is make game with your friends, and you'll see. And that's it.
Yeah, for me, the most important part is what I said, is this actually feeling of collectivity, being part of something bigger. And I think it's really closely tied to the identity. So having the feeling that I'm not the only weirdo in that space, but I have another weirdos next to me, which is amazing. And then a very practical thing that's maybe not what I find the most important for myself, but I realize it's very important, and that's when you have this umbrella, it's easier to maybe get funding and easier to get the spotlight, as we were talking before. So that's like the practical, non-ideological, non-romantic reason as well.